Title: Find Yourself Again, The Stoic Path to Rebuilding Your Life. Intro Hook. Have you ever looked into the mirror and wondered, what happened to the person I used to be? Maybe life has beaten you down. Maybe you've trusted the wrong people. Maybe you've failed so many times that you've forgotten what confidence feels like. Or maybe you've simply become lost. But here's the truth. You are not broken. You are buried beneath fear, disappointment, and distractions. Deep inside you, the strongest version of yourself is still waiting. Today, we begin the journey to find that person again. This is not just another motivational story. This is a journey that could change the way you see yourself forever. So stay with me until the end, because every step reveals a lesson that can help you rebuild your life. And if this story speaks to your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another Stoic lesson designed to strengthen your mind. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1: The Man Who Forgot Himself. There was once a young man named Elias. Years ago, people admired him. He dreamed big. He smiled often. He believed anything was possible. Every morning he woke up excited. He exercised. He read books. He respected his family. He worked harder than anyone around him. People believed he would become successful. But life has a strange way of testing people. One failure became 2. 2 became 10. A business collapsed. Friends disappeared. Someone he loved walked away. Every disappointment stole a small piece of his confidence. Slowly, the energetic young man disappeared. He still woke up every morning. But there was no excitement. No purpose. No direction. He wasn't living. He was simply existing. One evening he stood in front of a mirror. For several minutes he stared at his reflection. Then he whispered, "I don't even know who I am anymore." That sentence changed everything. Because sometimes the first step toward finding yourself is admitting that you've become lost. Chapter 2: The Old Stoic. The next morning Elias wandered through the streets with no destination. Eventually he reached an old park. There sat an elderly man feeding birds. His face was calm. His eyes carried peace. People walked past him without noticing. But something about him felt different. The old man looked at Elias and smiled. "You look tired." Elias laughed bitterly. "I'm tired of life." The old man nodded. "No. You are tired of fighting the wrong battles." Elias sat beside him. For hours they talked. Not about money. Not about success. Not about fame. They talked about the mind. The old man finally asked, "When was the last time you spent 1 hour alone without your phone, without music, without distraction, simply listening to yourself?" Elias couldn't answer. The old man smiled. "Exactly. You've spent years listening to everyone else's opinions. But you've forgotten your own voice." Those words struck Elias like lightning. Maybe that was the problem. He had spent years trying to impress others. Trying to fit in. Trying to become someone everyone else expected. In the process, he lost himself. Chapter 3: The First Lesson. The old man picked up a small stone. He dropped it into the lake. The water rippled. Then became still again. Our minds are exactly like this water. When people insult us, ripple. When we fail, ripple. When life becomes difficult, ripple. But eventually, the water becomes calm again. The question is, do you allow your mind to become calm? Or do you keep throwing more stones into it? Elias thought about his life. Every day he replayed old mistakes. Every night he worried about tomorrow. His mind never rested. The old man stood up. "If you wish to find yourself again, silence must become your teacher." That evening Elias returned home. He turned off his phone. No television. No music. No social media. Only silence. At first, it felt uncomfortable. Then, he began hearing thoughts he had ignored for years. Dreams he abandoned. Goals he forgot. values he betrayed. Slowly, the noise inside him began disappearing. For the first time in years, he felt peace. To be continued in Part 2, where Elias begins rebuilding himself through discipline, self-control, and the daily Stoic practices that transform his life. Find Yourself Again, Part 2. The day the real transformation began. The next morning, Elias woke before sunrise. For a moment, he reached for his phone, just as he had done every morning for years. But then he remembered the old man's words. Silence must become your teacher. He slowly pulled his hand back. Instead of scrolling through endless news and comparing his life with strangers, he sat quietly beside his window. The world outside was still asleep. The streets were empty. The air was cool. For the first time in years, he simply listened. He heard birds singing. He heard the wind moving through the trees. He heard his own breathing. Something inside him whispered, "This is where your new life begins." Elias closed his eyes. He realized he had spent years searching for answers everywhere except within himself. He had blamed people. He had blamed circumstances. He had blamed bad luck. But he had never taken complete responsibility for his own mind. That realization frightened him. Yet it also gave him hope. Because if he had the power to lose himself, he also had the power to find himself again. The second meeting. Later that afternoon, Elias returned to the park. The old man was already there, calmly reading beneath the shade of a large oak tree. Without looking up, the old man smiled. "I knew you would come." Elias sat beside him. "I've been thinking all night." The old man nodded. "Thinking changes nothing. Action changes everything." Those words landed heavily. The old man closed his book and asked, "Tell me, Elias, what do you do every day?" Elias hesitated. "I wake up late. I waste hours on my phone. I complain. I avoid difficult work. I stay up late." The old man smiled gently. "You don't have a life problem. You have a habit problem." Elias frowned. "What do you mean?" The old man picked up a tiny seed lying on the ground. "This seed becomes a tree. But not in one day. It grows because of what happens every single day. So does your character. Every habit is planting a seed. If you plant discipline every day, you harvest confidence. If you plant laziness, you harvest regret." Elias stared at the seed in the old man's hand. For years, he had waited for motivation. But perhaps motivation wasn't the answer. Daily discipline was. The promise. That evening Elias made a promise. Not to anyone else, but to himself. He found an old notebook covered in dust. On the first page he wrote, "Today I begin again." Below it he listed 5 promises. "I will wake up early. I will strengthen my body. I will strengthen my mind. I will speak less and listen more. I will become better than yesterday." He looked at the list. It seemed simple. But he knew something important. Simple does not mean easy. The hardest battle was about to begin. The battle against himself. The first week. The alarm rang at 5 in the morning. Everything inside him wanted to stay in bed. His body argued. "Sleep another hour. You deserve a break. You can start tomorrow." Then he remembered another lesson. Your comfort is your greatest enemy. He stood up immediately. No hesitation. No excuses. Outside, the streets were cold and quiet. He began walking. Soon the walk became a jog. Soon the jog became a run. His lungs burned. His legs ached. His heart pounded. But with every step he felt stronger. Not physically. Mentally. Because every step proved one thing. He could keep a promise to himself. And every promise kept builds trust. Not from other people. From yourself. The battle nobody sees. As the days passed, people noticed nothing. His clothes were the same. His house was the same. His bank account was the same. From the outside, nothing had changed. But inside, Everything was changing. He no longer complained. He stopped arguing online. He stopped chasing approval. He stopped explaining himself to people who never intended to understand him. The old man had once said, "The strongest victories happen where nobody is watching." Now Elias understood. Character is built in private, long before success becomes public. The temptation. One evening an old friend visited him. "Come on," his friend said. "You've changed. Let's go back to how things used to be." They spent hours trying to convince him to skip his routine, to forget his goals, to return to his old habits. For a moment, Elias was tempted. The old life felt familiar, comfortable, easy. Then he remembered another lesson. If you return to the habits that broke you, you return to the life that broke you. He smiled politely. "I can't." His friend laughed. "You think you're better than us?" Elias calmly answered. "No. I'm simply trying to become better than the person I used to be." There was silence. His friend left. It hurt. But sometimes growth requires letting go of people who only recognize the old version of you. The hidden strength. Weeks turned into months. Every morning Elias wrote in his journal. Every evening he reflected on his day. He celebrated small victories. He admitted his mistakes without making excuses. Some days he failed. Some mornings he overslept. Some evenings he lost his temper. But he no longer quit. He simply started again. That became his greatest strength. Not perfection. Persistence. Because the Stoics understood something many people forget. A strong person isn't someone who never falls. A strong person is someone who gets back up every single time. A new reflection. One morning Elias stood before the same mirror that had once filled him with despair. The face looking back hadn't changed much. But the eyes had. Months earlier they had been filled with confusion. Now they reflected determination, peace, purpose. He smiled, not because life had become easy, but because he had become stronger. He finally understood that finding yourself isn't about discovering someone new. It's about removing everything that was never truly you: fear, excuses, resentment, and the constant need for approval. The person he had been searching for had been there all along, waiting beneath the noise. And this was only the beginning. End of Part 2. In Part 3, Elias faces his greatest test yet, a devastating setback that threatens everything he has built. He must decide whether to return to his old life or fully embrace the Stoic path, discovering that true strength is revealed not during easy times, but in moments of greatest adversity. Find Yourself Again, Part 3. The storm that tested his soul. The months passed quietly. Every sunrise became another opportunity for Elias to keep the promises he had written in his notebook. He woke before dawn. He exercised. He read the teachings of the Stoics. He spent time in silence. He worked with discipline, even when no one noticed. Little by little, he became stronger, not just in body, but in character. People who had ignored him began to notice the change. Some admired him. Some questioned him. Others secretly hoped he would fail. The old man had warned him about this. The moment you begin changing your life, not everyone will celebrate your growth. Some people only feel comfortable when you stay the same. At the time, Elias hadn't fully understood. Now he was about to. The unexpected news. One rainy afternoon, Elias arrived at work expecting an ordinary day. Instead, his manager called everyone into a meeting. The room was silent. No one smiled. The manager took a deep breath. "I'm sorry," he said. "The company is closing. Today is everyone's last day." The words struck the room like thunder. Some people shouted. Others cried. A few stormed out in anger. Elias felt his heart sink. Months of progress suddenly seemed meaningless. He walked home in the rain with nothing but a small box containing his belongings. His thoughts grew darker with every step. What if all this discipline was for nothing? What if I'm destined to fail? What if I've been fooling myself? That night he barely slept. The old fears returned, whispering that he would never escape the life he had always known. The return to the park. The next morning, Elias returned to the old park. The elderly Stoic sat beneath the same oak tree, as though he had been expecting him. Before Elias spoke a single word, the old man asked, "So, the storm has arrived?" Elias nodded. "I've lost everything." The old man smiled gently. "No. You've only lost a job. There is a difference." Elias looked confused. The old man continued, "If your peace depends on something outside yourself, then your peace was never truly yours." Elias lowered his head. The old man picked up a branch that had fallen during the storm. He held it in his hands. "Look at this. The storm broke this branch. But did it destroy the tree?" Elias looked toward the giant oak. Its roots remained firmly planted. Its trunk stood tall. Its leaves still reached toward the sky. "No," Elias answered softly. The old man smiled. "Exactly. The storm only reveals how deep the roots truly are." The hardest decision. For several weeks, Elias searched for another job. Every interview ended with rejection. Every unanswered email chipped away at his confidence. His savings slowly disappeared. Bills continued to arrive. One evening, an old acquaintance visited him. "I know an easy way to make money," he said. "No experience needed. Quick cash. But we'll have to lie to people. We'll have to manipulate them. No one will know." Elias remained silent. Months ago, he would have accepted immediately. Desperation makes almost any shortcut seem reasonable. But now, something had changed. He remembered another lesson from the old man. A person without integrity may become rich, but they will always remain poor in character. Elias stood up. "I can't." The man laughed. "You've become weak." Elias smiled. "No. I've become disciplined." The man left, shaking his head. Elias closed the door. His wallet was nearly empty. But for the first time in years, his conscience was full. The mountain trail. A few days later, the old man invited Elias on a hike. Before sunrise, they began climbing a steep mountain trail. The path was rough. Sharp rocks covered the ground. The climb seemed endless. After several hours, Elias collapsed onto a large stone. "I can't keep going," he gasped. The old man pointed toward the valley below. "Look behind you." Elias turned around. His eyes widened. The town looked tiny. The river shimmered in the morning light. The forest stretched endlessly toward the horizon. "I didn't realize we'd come this far," Elias whispered. The old man smiled. "That's how growth works. When you're climbing, all you see is the next difficult step. You rarely notice how far you've already come." Those words settled deep into Elias's heart. He realized he had been focusing only on what he still lacked. He had forgotten to appreciate the man he had already become. The mirror within. That evening, Elias opened the notebook he had started months before. He read the first page. "Today I begin again." Then he turned the pages one by one. He saw entries about difficult mornings, victories over laziness, moments of fear, lessons from failure, acts of kindness, days of discipline. Every page reminded him that his greatest achievement wasn't external success. It was becoming someone who could face hardship without giving up. He realized something profound. The greatest mirror isn't made of glass. It's your daily actions. They reveal who you truly are. The new opportunity. One morning, Elias received a phone call. A small business owner had seen his persistence and offered him a chance to help rebuild the company. The salary wasn't impressive. The position wasn't glamorous. Many people would have rejected it. But Elias smiled. Months earlier, he had chased status. Now he chased purpose. He accepted the opportunity with gratitude. As he walked to his first day, the old man appeared once more. "You've changed," the old man said. Elias smiled. I still have problems. Life is still difficult. But now I know something I never knew before. The old man raised an eyebrow. And what is that? Elias looked toward the rising sun. I cannot control every storm. But I can always control the person I choose to become inside the storm. The old man nodded with pride. Now, you are beginning to understand Stoicism. Closing. Every one of us will face storms. We will lose opportunities. We will experience rejection. We will be misunderstood. We will fail. But those moments do not define us. They reveal us. The strongest people are not those who never struggle. They are those who refuse to let struggle steal their character. If you are walking through your own storm today, remember Elias. Your roots may be growing deeper than you can see. Your greatest breakthrough may begin with your greatest challenge. And perhaps, this difficult season is not the end of your story. Perhaps it is the chapter where you finally find yourself again. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. In Part 4, Elias faces his greatest inner battle yet, learning to forgive, let go of the past, and discover that true freedom begins when resentment ends.